What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast. Happy New Year. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and this is a very special NFL Week 18 betting preview. Today, we'll build our Sunday six pack of Against the Spread bets with the help of my co host, the Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuckey. Stuckey, what up? Happy New Year. All right, so we'll jump right into our Week 18 Sunday six pack. No Thursday night football this week. We got a couple Saturday games. They'll be included in the six pack. Ravens, Browns, and the Bengals Steelers. So the got the AFC North playing Saturday. Everyone else is on Sunday. Our Week 18 six pack, 47-38 is the score. 2 points for our first two bets. First point for our third, point for the total, which we'll give out in the next segment. And
You're letting me come back, and I can't even pick a
yeah.
winner.
I mean, it's a good. The more I look at it, I don't even know how I survived that first half of the year because I mean, it like I'm on the same boat as you right now. It's just I had that luckier opening part of the year, but yeah, trying to get back right here. I'm up first for the first pick of the Week 18 six pack. I'm going with the New York Jets plus 1.5 against the Miami Dolphins, and this just comes down to a couple things. Number one. Dolphins doesn't look like Tua is gonna go. I thought he would have gone last week if he was going to, but apparently the hip injury is worse than they let on. Been just a weird year for injuries. I thought for sure he would have played last week, but it looks like he's gonna miss again. And for the Jets, whether it's Rodgers or whoever, Tyrod Taylor, at
Rodgers is
this
going to
point,
play.
yeah, I mean, that's what I think too. But you might see some Tyrod in this game. You never know. But yeah, I think that Rodgers is going to go for the Jets. They're still playing for pride. They still do have some veterans on that team. And I just think this team, pretty similar to Miami. The Jets played worse than their record. Miami, especially if Tua doesn't go, they're just a middling kind of below average team going on the road to the East, to East Coast city late in the year. Give me the New York Jets here to end it right and probably piss their fans off and getting a win here.
Yeah, this would have been one of mine because I don't. Again, it's early in the week. We're recording this on Tuesday morning, so a lot of guesswork on who's going to play. They came out and they said Rodgers is going to start. They expect Rodgers to start. Olberg said, judging from the verbiage, I don't think Tua is going to go.
Hmm.
I think that this line would be fair if Tua went. I don't think Sauce Gardner's going to go. Waddle
Yeah,
could be
no.
back. So if accounting for all that, I think this line would be fair if Tua went. But without Tua, I mean, I think that the Jets should be like a field goal favorite here. And it's part of like what's going on with the Jets does worry me, like some of the just the background stuff with some of the comments and like there's I don't know where the vibes are, but I expect them to show up here. They can end the Dolphins season. We see this all the time. Teams that are eliminated in the final season, in the final week of the season, historically 60% against the spread against teams that are playing that need to win to get in the playoffs. Last week, it's over the final 2 weeks of the regular season, I should say, is that stat dating back to 1990, sample size of about 200 games. And when we saw it last week, those teams I think went 3-3. Giants being one that won outright. We saw the Cardinals cover, and we saw the Bears cover as well. Were the three teams that did cover. Divisional rival. They lost to them in overtime earlier this season. So I think they get up for this game. And the Jets have just been extremely unlucky. Last week they got their bell rung in Buffalo. That will happen. But yeah, I mean, this Miami team is extremely limited, I think, on both sides of the ball if Huntley goes. And
And
judging from the verbiage, I think that that's going to be the case here.
and let me not even bury the lead. We also have uh 31 degrees forecast, double digit winds, slight chance of snow. We know the Dolphins don't like to play in that, especially end of the year. So yeah, that's working in the Jets' favor as well. All right,
All
where
right,
you going?
for my first pick of the Week 18 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks -3 at the Los Angeles Rams. I'd play this up to 4. I think that this line reflects that some starters are going to be out for the Rams, but I don't think it's fully accounted for. If you look back historically, now the Rams do have like a semi incentive, right? Because if they win, then avoid you can avoid playing either the Vikings or the Lions, whoever loses that game. But if you look historically, McVay doesn't care about seeding. So you go his back to 2017, they clinched the division in week 16. Same exact scenario as this, second to last week. They were locked into either the 3 or 4. Same scenario. But they decided to rest their starters and they lost to the 49ers by 21. And then they ended up losing the wild card round. Last year, they clinched the playoff berth in the second to last week, week 18. They could have been the 6th, they could have been the 7th seed. They decided to rest their starters. They ended up winning anyway because the 49ers also rested their starters. And then they got the 6th seed. So McVay, and look, this team hasn't had a bye since week 5 or 6. So they haven't had a bye in forever. You can kind of see it in the way that they're playing, like lately. I know that they keep winning, but I mean, it's been ugly for the past 3 weeks since that Bills game. They've just gotten rather fortunate. So I think that they're going to rest all their key guys. And I think that's even more important for the Rams. We talked about this early on in the season and during the preseason. The Rams don't have great depth, like just across their roster. So if you're resting key starters, I think it's going to show more than it would with other teams. Now you have a veteran at quarterback, Jimmy G will start, but this is like a star heavy team. And then on the other side, I do think that the Seahawks show up. I think that they'll care. McDonald, I trust in. I know that they were eliminated last week, so there is a little bit of a question of incentive, but it's a divisional game. You have revenge against the team that beat you at home in a game you should have won. And it's the Seahawks on turf. And that's a completely different offense. This year, in 3 games on turf, they scored 29, 30, and 34. Gino has major incentives. He can get up to, like, very realistically $4 million in this game. I think, needs 186 yards, has to have a reasonable completion percentage. So I don't think that they're going to sit him, and I don't think you get Sam Howell here. So I think you get a full effort from the Seahawks, and I think the Rams are number one, resting starters. Number two, they're spending the week preparing for one of their potential playoff opponents. So I think this line will continue to move.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Rams very notorious for going all in when it comes to just resting guys. If it comes to it, we've seen it in the preseason too. That's McVay just kind of prioritizes that. So I could see the Seahawks being the only one that go hard. Hopefully, Gino doesn't just try to protect the completion percentage. I mean, some of those, like, what that game against Chicago, I don't know what that was, but what did you think of Grubb in that game? I thought he was like, some of the third down calls. It was like, third and long, and you just throw a little bubble screen like 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage.
I
What
don't
was
understand
that?
what they were doing.
Yeah,
I don't know if they just were like, the Bears aren't going to score. Um,
it was odd.
but very bizarre game.
Yeah,
But
terrible
yes,
game. Not fun
Seahawks
to
off
watch.
extra rest here too.
Yep.
And they just look like a different offense when they're playing in conditions like this. So I think you get a good effort from Seattle, and I just think you get the Rams backups. All their key starters sit. Team with not much depth. So I like the Seahawks.
I'm gonna make a pivot here. So we talked about one of these AFC West teams. I'm actually gonna go with a different AFC West team here. So for my second pick and the third overall, the Week 18 6-pack, I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs +10 at the Denver Broncos here. Another team not incentivized to win here. They got the number 1 seed locked up, but you're talking about the Chiefs on long rest. Still the Chiefs coaching staff. Still a team that in the Broncos that is a younger team, hasn't been there before, played in a tough, demoralizing overtime game the week before. So you could see, them playing a little closer to the vest. If it's a close game, they might not go for it on every fourth down, might just settle for field goals here. And the Chiefs, they have what, 3-4 weeks off till they actually have to play a meaningful game. So I still think they're gonna prepare for this Bronco team. They have a chance to potentially knock them out of the playoffs. So yeah, give me the Chiefs plus 10. I just think even with all the starters resting, I mean, what this line, I mean, you're talking about like a essentially a double digit move. That's just a lot of points for me for a Chiefs team that I still think is going to show up, probably be a low scoring divisional game. And it's still, Bo Nix and the Broncos. You could have some mistakes here. So yeah, give me the Chiefs plus 10 at the Broncos.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, it's a very difficult one to handicap. Who exactly is going to sit out for the Chiefs? Most of their key guys are. So, like breaking this down, if the Chiefs were fully healthy, what are they here? A 4-point favorite if there was
Yeah,
incentives lined. So
we got
we're
two touchdown
saying
move. Yeah.
Mahomes is worth like probably close to a touchdown to the spread.
Yep.
Now, what I'm struggling to just and look, the Chiefs rested their starters 4 times before in this situation, all 4 times under Andy Reid. 2013, they were plus 14 and a half at the Chargers, who needed to win for the playoffs.
Mm.
And the Chiefs blew a late 10-point lead. They actually missed a field goal to win. The Chargers got away with a penalty. The NFL had to, and the Chargers ended up winning in overtime. The NFL had to offer an apology after the game. They were plus 14 and a half, should have won. 2017 plus 3, they won at Denver, 27-24. That was Mahomes' first start. He actually came out of the game, came back in to lead the game-winning field
Yep.
goal
I remember
drive.
that one. Yep. Yep.
2020, Chad Henne was plus 7 against Herbert at the Chargers in a totally meaningless game. They got blown out in that one, 38-21.
Yep.
It was competitive in the first half. And then last year, Blaine Gabbert plus 3.5 versus Easton Stick at the Chargers. They covered and won outright 13-12 in an ugly one. So they're 3-1 against the spread in these spots. They've been a dog in all 4, and they should have won 3 of the 4.
Yep.
So, and Andy Reid knows how to handle these situations. I do agree that the Broncos probably play this conservatively. Now, so I think it's a bit, I think there's a premium on the Broncos given the spot here. Very low total too. And I mean, if you look, who this year, Broncos 1 win over a playoff team. I think that's still all they have, going back to I think the Bucks early in the season. And yeah, the one what I do struggle with, and Carson Wentz is I think better than a lot of
The
those
average
guys I just
backup.
mentioned,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Gabbert,
He's competent.
Kenny, Chase Daniel. Where I struggle with is like the Chiefs' offensive line has been such a mess. It's like, what are you going to get at tackle? And then you don't have Mahomes to like, and the Broncos are going to bring pressure. So like, does it just completely fall apart on Wentz? But I expect you get who you're going to get here. You'll get Carson Steele, P.
Yeah.
Ryan, a lot
You'll
of
get
Carson
guys,
Steele.
you'll get professional football. I mean, the Chiefs, their depth is lacking at certain spots, but I mean, this is still a deeper team than most in the NFL. And the coaching staff is still good. And who knows? I mean, with the Broncos bringing pressure, for example, is that something they dial back because of I just think this team hasn't really, Sean Payton's been here, but this team really hasn't. So yeah, I'll take the 2 touchdown adjustment all day because I've seen this too many times.
Yeah, all the pressure
Yeah.
is on Denver. So the Chiefs can play completely loose here, and you see a lot. This NFL season's different, but in the past, you would see this game be close and tight and a lot of drama down to the wire.
All right, where you go next?
All right, for my second pick and the fourth overall of the Week 18 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens minus 9.5 first half against the Cleveland Browns. Shop around. There's 9.5s, 10s, 10.5s out there. Obviously, try to get the best number as always. Ravens first game on Saturday. Obviously, fully incentivized here. They win this game. They clinch the division. They lose. They leave the door open for the Steelers to win and take the division later on Saturday night. So you're going to get a full effort from the Ravens here. What are you getting from the Browns? I don't think Winston's going to go. He would make this bet a little scarier just because of the variance. Pretty confident in that. I think it's either another DTR game or it's Bailey Zappi. Those are, I think, the two options that the Browns are going to go with. I think Strong and Ford might both be out. I think Denzel Ward is out as well. I think their best remaining linebacker in Hicks might be out also. How are the Browns going to score? I mean, they can't score anymore. It's an absolute disaster. What are they just going to run Foreman into walls? They can't throw it. You can't run on Baltimore. Baltimore's defense trending way up over the
Yeah.
past 6 weeks. Their pass
Against
defense
the
as well.
passes, yeah, they really fixed the pass defense. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's all the skip. Just they made a couple schematic changes, and then most importantly, they moved some guys around. Talked about that a few times. And then this is one of the best offenses in the NFL. And then you have Lamar Jackson. And look, they have revenge here, playing for the division at home. They're going to come out with their hair on fire. Lamar 58, 33, and 2 against the spread in the first half. Most profitable quarterback in NFL history, 63.7%, covering by a field goal per game, which is super impressive for a first half. 50, 27, and 2 against the spread as a first half favorite. That's 65%, covering by 3.5 points per game. And then how about when laying over 6 points? 12, 2, and 1 against the spread. When laying over a touchdown in the first half, 4-0 against the spread. So I think the Ravens come out. I, I expect them to score, I don't know, 17 to 20 points. How are the Browns scoring? I I don't know. This offense is horrifying, and their defense now is more beat up. This is an ugly situation. I think the Ravens blow them out. Now, I don't want to lay the 17 and a half because the Ravens are going to play next week. If they win this game, they're going to host a playoff game. And if they're just up like 21 nothing in this game, then you go into, and the Browns can't do anything. Then you just go into preserve, make sure we stay healthy, get out of town. Right. So that's what would then, leaves the back door open. You could be up 24 late and then give up a touchdown and not cover 17 and a half. But I think the Ravens come out here, score on 3, 4 possessions, and I don't see the Browns doing much. So give me the Ravens first half. Trying to adjust here. Two favorites to start. Dogs don't cover anymore in the NFL.
Apparently, yeah. No, I mean, it's kind of nerve wracking because yeah, it is one of those spots where the Browns don't have any incentives, which in the past you would say, okay, Browns probably cover. But I mean, you are going first half, and the Browns, yeah, I don't know how they like DTR is so bad, and if we're not getting him, I mean, I guess Zappy would be an upgrade, but yeah,
Not by much.
not by much. All right, for my third pick in the fifth overall of the Week 18 six-pack, I'm going with the Houston Texans plus 1.5 against the Tennessee Titans. And looks like the Titans have taken some money. The Texans can rest their starters in this spot. They've come out and said they're not going to. We'll see how long that lasts. I think at some point they will. But looking at the Titans this
The
year,
exact quote from D'Amico was, "Everybody has to be ready to go, and we'll see how the game goes."
yeah,
So I have no idea what that means.
I think it means he's probably going to play some guys and not as long as other guys. But
Because
my
they
thing
need to get
is,
the offense going,
yeah,
and they
and
need to get that taste out of their mouth from last week. I mean, they're locked into their seed too, so they're just trying to balance like health and then also vibes around the team, and then also just, hey, let's get the offense doing something because the offense since losing Tank Dell, they were rolling in that Chiefs game. Lose Tank Dell, no pun intended, went into the tank the rest of that game, and then against the Ravens,
nothing, nothing.
nothing.
Yeah. So and like what better team to beat up on than the Tennessee Titans? And like this is the thing with the Titans. We've talked about this. They're a point shaving operation. And now they're in a position where like the number one pick can come into play again. I mean, they lose to the Jaguars. I think they end up closing as a favorite in that game. I don't even know. I don't know how. But they end up closing as a favorite against the Jags.
The only favorite you can trust to fade this year is the Titans.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, give it to Texans because it's like on one hand, you see the money coming in on Titans, you're like, what? Like, okay. But I just don't think that even if it comes down to a full game of Davis Mills and Texan backups against the Titans, I think the Titans found a way to lose this game. That's what, and you saw Callahan and Carthon, the coach and the GM, get a vote of confidence from ownership. I think it was last week. So I think the tank is back on in full strength. It's probably been on this whole time, but I just don't think the Titans against Texans backups, against Texans starters are going to get it done. And if we get the starter, because essentially this line is saying we're not getting Texan starters. If we get the Texan starters for any amount of time, the Texans should be bigger favorites here. You have a road dog coming off a loss of 20 or more, 60 and 49, 55% against the spread. Road dog, a dog 500 or better that scored less than 10 points in the last game. The Texans scored two, 78, 41, and 3, 66% over the past 2 decades, 27% ROI. So I think the Texans do show up, whether it's the backups or the starters. I'm not even concerned. I think this line is giving them essentially like zero chance of playing their starters, which, judging from what D'Amico Ryans is saying, I think that's closer to they play for more like a preseason game, like quarter, half, maybe even longer, and depending on the side of the ball. So yeah, give me the Texans here, +1.5.
I have zero feel. I don't know what the Texans are doing and how long they're going to play their starters. But I'm not betting the Titans. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Learned my lesson. It was a expensive lesson, but luckily I learned my lesson about a month ago. Uh, about 2 months too late. All right, for my third pick and the sixth overall of the Week 18 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys +4.5 at home against the Washington Commanders. Once this hit 4.5, this was down to 3.5. I got to take the Cowboys. 4.5, like, that's a key number in Dallas because Washington scores a touchdown. You get 20 yards at home. Aubrey kicks a 65-yard field goal. Um, him at home, it's just like you just need 20 yards. Now the Dallas offense without CeeDee Lamb, it's rough. He was the target monster on that team. Commanders are incentivized here. I don't think they're going to rest their starters because if you win, then you lock in to the six and you avoid, you play the Rams or um, you would play the Rams or who am I missing?
Packers.
Or the Bucks.
Oh no, yeah, Bucks. Yeah, yeah.
Rams or Bucks instead of the Eagles. The way that it works is Washington wins, they clinch the six. If Washington loses and Green Bay wins, then Green Bay would jump up to the six. So they are incentivized here, but it's a tough spot for, you know, young team coming off that emotional win. It was like one of the biggest games in recent Commanders history, clinching a playoff spot in overtime. But it's not like this team is playing great lately. And they've had the easiest schedule in the NFL to date. They've won 5 games on the final play. I mean, like going back all the way to the Hail Mary. Do you want to know how many playoff teams they beat this year? One, and it was the Eagles who lost Jalen Hurts to injury, and they were about to blow that game open. The Commanders have won 3 straight. Here's their results. Against a rookie quarterback making his first start in overtime because of a missed field goal and horrendous clock management, a game they should have lost. Hayner Rattler in New Orleans on a 2-point stop, and then Pickett, who had to come in for Hurts on the final play of the game. Like, this team's getting pretty fortunate. They have some offensive line injury questions. The defense is still very bad. Cowboys can lean on Dowdle here and Aubrey, just getting like 20-yard drives for free points. Commanders also, look, they have 19 fumbles on the year. They've only lost 6. They're 19 of 22 on fourth down. Like they've just so many high leverage things have gone their way all season long. I don't think it's going to last forever. I think the Cowboys show up in the final home game. They got embarrassed last week. This is a division rival. No Lamb hurts here, but defense is still playing hard. They played Washington very well in Washington. And they played the run well. They can get pressure here, especially if Washington's not at full strength along the offensive line. And yeah, I think the Cowboys can stay within 4.5. So give me Dallas plus the points at home.
Yeah, Washington's offense did not look good in that game. That was the game with all the odd special teams those multiple returns by the Cowboys and the missed field goals and but yeah, Washington's offense just didn't seem to really have anything going for the first 55 minutes of that game. And then they got the crazy Terry McLaurin, not Hail Mary, but just like a crazy play at the end of that to score a touchdown. So yeah, I could see the Cowboys hanging around here. All right. So
I mean,
that
it's just the Commanders. Look, the Commanders, Daniels has been awesome, but I mean, it's been ugly the last 3 weeks. They could have easily gone 0-3. I mean, Hurts doesn't get hurt, they lose that game. New Orleans gets a 2-point conversion. I know that there was a clock malfunction in that game, but still, the offense didn't look great in that game. And then against Atlanta, I mean, Atlanta just comedy of errors, and you win a coin toss. Before that, their wins were over the Giants by 5, against the Titans, against the Bears by 3 on a Hail Mary, against the Panthers, the Browns, the
yeah,
Cardinals. And you got to go back. They beat the Giants in week 2 because they didn't have a kicker. You got most impressive win. You got to go back to
Bengals, I guess.
Bengals at
Yeah.
Cincy, uh, against that sieve of a defense. So yeah, Dallas had been playing better of late until last week. I think they show up. They seem like they still care at least.
All right, so that's our six pack. We got let's see, some Geno, some Lamar, some Cooper Rush. I got some Rodgers, Wentz, and maybe some Davis Mills, maybe some CJ. We'll see, but Seattle, Baltimore first half, and the Cowboys for Stuck, Jets, Chiefs, Texans for me. That's our Week 18 six pack. Now it's time for our coaches pep talk. All right, this week's coach's pep talk comes to us from legendary coach and zero-time Super Bowl champion Marty Schottenheimer. We're dedicating it to which we dedicated to. It's dedicated to all the underdogs, man, because this has been just a rough year for the dogs, man. Hopefully they bark in week 18. Best of luck to all of them, especially the ones we're betting on. But let's get into our favorite total of the week. All right, Stuck. I went first for the six pack. Where are you going for the total?
Yeah, I was originally going to go Jacksonville, Indy over. I just think that game might get squirrely if Flacco starts. I mean, he's just going to be chucking it deep like he did in the first meeting. The Mac Jones and that offense, they're still playing hard. Like that just, but I like, did the Colts just not show up? Are they a corpse? I don't know. And I don't know if it's going to be Richardson or Flacco. And I get it wrong every time. I get all the Colts injury. Whatever my projections are, the opposite happens. So let me just go Carolina, Atlanta over 48. Actually, there's a 47.5. I mean, Carolina, Atlanta over 47.5. I've liked what I've seen from Penix. This Panthers defense is really bad. Like Atlanta's gonna be able to run on them. They're they have injuries. They're back to like the unit we saw earlier this year with all the injuries they had. And then on offense, I think Bryce Young and company indoors can move the ball through the air. There's no Hubbard. I think they'll be throwing it more here. Last game of the year, let's see more from Young. So I think this thing potentially turns into a back and forth shootout. And I mean, the Panthers at this point, how do you not get to 30 on them? And I just think Penix opens up that Falcons offense so much more. You can do so many more things. Just the versatility of that offense off of the run game with him being able to move out of the pocket. You can actually throw with a quarterback that's going to move outside the tackle box. And I've liked what I've seen from him so far. So yeah, let me go Falcons Panthers over 47.5.
All right, I'm gonna go with the final game of the year. Let's go Lions Vikes under 40, under 57 and a half. I just think this is a massive number. It's going to be a game, for the number one seed, playoff implications, second divisional game matchup, usually a little lower scoring, a little tighter. And I know, Campbell's not going to, he's still going to be aggressive or whatnot. But I just think that, these teams, I think you could see some turnovers from Darnold that potentially, end some drives for the Vikings. And I just think you have to be pretty much perfect here. with a total this high for, and especially in a game with playoff implications, things on the line here. I just think this is way too high. Maybe if it was a midseason game, maybe if it was the first divisional matchup, but second one, I still think this total should be in the low 50s. Obviously, two great offenses, but I think Minnesota's been getting a little bit lucky on offense, and we've seen this, just unders this year, or unders since 2021 when the total was above 49 or 95 and 65, 59%. Now this one is way high. And so, yeah, I have to go with the under 57 and a half. Vikings, Lions, last game of the year. Should be a good one, but 57 and a half, I feel like that's a little inflated because of the prime time, because of the stakes and whatnot.
I, you're brave, man. I can't get there. I mean, the Lions defense, since all these injuries happened over the past 3 weeks, has been the worst in the NFL. I mean, statistically, they're basically dead even with the Panthers. And I mean, look, they gave up 48 to Buffalo. They even allowed the Bears, who cannot move the ball right now, to put up 400 yards of offense. That's when I knew that they were in trouble with all these injuries. And then San Francisco, one of the 5 teams this year to have a 60% success rate, they had 500 yards of offense. They outgained the Lions 475 to 439. The only reason they stopped them, if San Fran puts up 50 in that game, Brock Purdy overthrows a wide open receiver and they miss multiple field goals in that game. They probably end that game with 45, 50. O'Connell against this defense that has nothing. I don't know. And then the Lions are just going to score on anybody. And look, Vikings, I was really impressed with that win last week. But I will say, like, and it's been a hell of a year. One of the only things, it's been a great year for the Vikings. But if you look back, they've won what, 10 straight or nine?
11, yeah.
Nine. No, they've won 9 straight. The here are the games: Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Chicago in overtime, Arizona by 1, Atlanta with Cousins, Chicago, Seattle in a game they were outplayed in by 3. None of those teams are going to the playoffs. Like they finally beat a playoff team last week. And the only playoff team they've beaten the entire season is the Packers, twice by a combined 4 points. So the schedule broke their way this year. I make this because of all the Detroit injuries. I mean, that team can't stop anyone. This game, I wish I had a take on the side. I think I make this like 2, Detroit -2. And it's going to come down to just that, like, does Darnold throw a pick in the red zone? Like, does he turn it over? Otherwise, I don't see the Lions getting stops. And then it's probably going to come down to Campbell 4th downs. So I don't know. It's a good live betting game. Like, in my opinion, if a team gets down, but I think the line is about right. I cannot bet the under here. Like, I'd need like 60 to
Yeah,
bet the under.
I just think this time of year, this type of
It is a super
environment.
high total. Historically, all these go
Yeah,
under. I
yeah,
just, nope. I don't want any part of any Detroit under. None.
yeah.
Zero.
And I
Um,
mean, it's you have stuff on the line, so you might see that, like, if they need a field goal late, they might actually kick that field goal. Who knows? This is too many points. And the Lions. I mean, maybe they start finally experimenting with not playing just all this man coverage, and you could see some wrinkles here. I've just seen these. I mean, from a trend standpoint, they go under. I just think this is inflated because of the prime time spot and the Lions coming off, giving up, having a high total in prime time the week before. So yeah, I got to go under here. All right, let's get to our favorite teaser of the week. Total Carolina Atlanta over 47 and a half. Detroit Minnesota under 57 and a half. No tease for me. I know you have one this week, Stuck. Where are you going?
yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets. Already talked about them. To 7.5, low total. Game I think they win. And the Steelers. Higher total there, but Bengals can't get enough stops to really blow anybody out. So really interesting game there. I make it right around the number with the Bengals. It's hard to see the Bengals defense getting stops. It's hard to see the Steelers stopping this Burrow juggernaut right now. Like this just could come down to like who has the ball last. Should be an entertaining game. So yeah, give me Steelers and Jets. You have any thoughts on that Steelers game?
Yeah, I'm actually. I'll talk about the next one because I'm gonna go back to them for my money line dog. So we'll go right into that now. Underdog money line parlay. I guess I'll just go first since I do like the Steelers. Plus 136 against the Bengals. The Steelers haven't been playing well. The narratives are all against them. They failed their test. Lost all these playoff teams. But as we saw, the Bengals are vulnerable. I mean, against the Bronco team that, you look at the quarterback matchup, you give the Bengals the edge. Bengals were at home in that spot too. And it took a lot of fortune for them to come out victorious. They may have kicking issues here. The Steelers, I think you're gonna get a good effort because they haven't been right, so they want to get back on the right track. And you have Tomlin as a dog at home in a spot where you could end a division rival's season. I mean, we've seen this too many times. Mike Tomlin still over 500 outright as an underdog in his career. So I think this is a matter of maybe who gets the ball last. I think the Steelers offense is going to be a lot better with George Pickens now weak to get healthier. They look like they're giving Jalen Warren more and more of the early down stuff, which I think is good because he's just more effective than Najee at this point. So Bengals have the better offense. Steelers still have the better defense, and Bengals defense it's an issue. It's going to be an issue. We saw it. Bo Nix throwing game tying touchdowns and whatnot, and the kicker could be an issue for the Bengals too. So that's something with the Steelers that we really haven't seen. So yeah, I like the Steelers for all the little things that kind of go their way, and this is the kind of game I see the Steelers winning late in the year. So yeah, I like Pittsburgh.
Well, let's just make this correlated.
Okay.
Let's go with the Raiders on Sunday against the Chargers because if the Steelers win, the Chargers then have no incentive to play their starters because they will be locked in to their seed. And if they know that they'll be playing the Ravens, assuming the Ravens also beat the Browns, there is no reason to play anybody. And this line will go down and we'll have some value of the Chargers. So these two things are correlated. If the Steelers win, then we're going to have a really good position on a a Raiders Steelers money line parlay.
All right, and that's so plus 136 for Pitt and Raiders at plus 215. So that's a plus 643 parlay. So nice juicy parlay as well. So yeah, I like that. Like that for that angle that you just mentioned with the Chargers being locked in. All right. So yeah, Raiders, Steelers, money line dog parlay, best of the rest. The games we have not talked about in any other segment. All right, first up, we got the Bills at the Patriots. Patriots +3 at home. The total is 38 in that one. Any thoughts on this one, Stuck?
I don't know. I assume the Bills are going to rest their starters. Who exactly we don't know yet. But the Patriots, they're incentivized to lose. And there's like some rumblings that they could start Joe Milton because like Drake May kind of got banged up a little bit, so they could just say like, "Hey, we're going to keep him out as a precautionary measure," but really it's like, "Hey, let's secure the number one." So it's a team resting their starters, locked into a seed, versus a team incentivized to lose. That I don't know who the starting quarterback's going to be.
Yeah,
So
that's
I nothing, absolutely nothing on this game.
maybe an under if Milton starts. But yeah, I mean Milton he runs around a lot. I remember him from preseason. He looked pretty decent. But I mean, why wouldn't if May's hurt? Wouldn't you just start Brissett? That's so obviously tanking if you end
Well,
up
they might
starting
want to
Milton.
like they're going to say like, yeah, I mean it's obvious tanking, but they could say like, and it makes some sense. Let's like get a look at Milton to see if he should be the backup, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Way too much uncertainty. Keep me far away from
uh,
that game.
Next up, we got the Saints at the Bucks. Bucks 13.5 point favorites at home. The total 43.5. Bucks do need to win here. Thought about this one for the 6 pack, but this Bucks offense is, I mean, the Saints defense can't stop the run either. So I don't love the matchup here. Any thoughts on this one?
I mean, the line's too high from where I project it. If this was 14, this would have been one of my picks. I mean, the I've upgraded the Bucks a ton since their first meeting. But what were the Bucks against Rattler in the first meeting in New Orleans? Like -3.5. Now, granted, they
Yeah, I
put
think
up
it was three or
52.
3.5 or 4. Yeah.
Um, they put up 52 and they blew them out in the second half. I think they were trailing at halftime.
Yep.
Uh, I think the Saints will show up, like divisional game, against a rival, try to ruin their season. In this spot, historically, the dog has done fairly well. This fits that situation, eliminated team playing a team that needs to win. I also think that there's a chance Olave, Kamara, and maybe even Derek Carr play. Like I could see Carr playing. So like he was like trying to practice last week, but they said like they just were worried about him in the pocket. Kamara has some incentives, I think, to play. Olave is saying he wants to play. If Carr play, if all three of them play, this line is way too high. So I might end up on the Saints here, but it's ugly if it's Rattler and yeah, the matchup isn't great, but Saints can come in. I think the line's inflated, so it's Saints or nothing. But this year, you just say the Bucks are way better. They need to win. Just take the Bucks, and then they'll
Yeah.
cover up
I mean,
or
the
lose.
fact that I mean, they have an offense that can just go off when it needs to, I think that's really it's if it was just if it was going to be more of a, okay, just they'll struggle to score. But like they're probably not going to struggle to score. So it's the Saints are going to have to put up points in this one, I think. And I don't know about that if you're not getting Carr, Olave, or Kamara, or even just like you probably need all three. I mean, it's not much there on the Saints offense. All right, Jags at the Colts. Colts are 4.5. Was it 4.5 or 5.5 now? Let's see. Yep, 5. Colts are 5 point favorites at home. The total is 45.5. You mentioned thinking about the over in this one. Could I mean Colts 5 point favorites could be a bit much too. I mean, with the Jaguars, they don't. I mean, what are they? They're probably playing for the pick too, so they're probably incentivized to lose. So yeah, you're
They're
just
still
looking at the
trying
over
out
one.
there. Like this staff, they don't care about that.
True.
Mac Jones is still playing hard. Uh, I don't know. I don't. What effort do you get from the Colts? Who's starting at quarterback? Like the Colts' devastating loss last week. Do they
Yeah,
just lay an egg?
it's
I
hard to
don't know.
know. I mean, you would think that they'll probably come out with a strong effort to because a week too late because of that game. Uh, so I would probably lean that way. I'd probably lean toward you getting a decent effort from the Colts a week too late.
I have no idea. Pass.
Bears at the Pack. Packers 9.5 point favorites at home. The total 40.5. So Packers technically do need to win for seeding, right? Because
But they
they
don't
are,
control anything because it comes down to Washington.
yeah, okay. And is this there are what time is this game? So Washington's at 10 and Packers are also no. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Same
So
time.
they're both playing at the same time. Yeah, okay. So yeah, how do you handicap this one with Packers kind of teetering on it on
I
whether
don't know. I
the
don't know how they need more news on this. Like, how are the Packers? Do they rest starters? And then just get ready for next week? Do they want to see more from the offense after last week's showing? Because it's out of their hands. Washington is a favorite. Do you want to risk injury? You might end up at the 7 anyway. Do you just start preparing for? I mean, you could win anyway if you go out there with Malik, run the
yeah.
ball on the Bears. So I project it close to where this number is. Too much uncertainty on top of that, so pass.
Yeah, I would think LaFleur probably plays it conservative, but you're right. You can't really. have confidence in the Bears the way they've been looking because Malik has been one of the better backups, and he's still going to have decent players suiting up for Green Bay, even if they rest starters. So yeah, I would I'd have to see more news to see exactly who's playing and who's not. G-Men at the Eagles. Eagles -3, total 38.5. Are the G-Men going to do it again? They seem pretty motivated last week.
Is Barkley going to play? Like, are they going to go for the record? That's
Yeah,
like they should rest him for the playoffs,
they should. I
but are
don't
they
think we
going
know
to?
yet. I don't
So
think we know
that's
yet. The,
big.
the
Like,
line kind of says yeah they are going to rest him. So I mean it's -3, but I don't think there hasn't been confirmation as we record this that they're going to rest him.
like that could get them a couple scores, a couple extra scores. Like, I I don't know. I think this line's about right. Eagles are going to rest their starters clearly, and I mean AJ Brown said that right after the game last week. Giants had their great effort last week. What do you get from them this week? Um, tough game. This is your classic tough week 18 game. This is like this to me. This is Patriots and Bills, like a team that's kind of incentivized to lose. But last week they didn't show that. And then the Eagles are resting all their starters. Who exactly going to rest? Are they resting Barkley? How are they going to handle this game? I don't know. Pure stay away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably rest Barkley because I mean, he had other chances to go for records, and he rested. They got him to 2K. My feeling is that they would rest him here, but yeah, you don't know what you're gonna get from the Giants. Even, I mean, the Eagles are still a deeper team, so talked about that one. So then we just got the Niners at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 3. The total's 44. Brock Purdy's talking about his elbow is on fire. So who knows if we get him in this one? What are your thoughts here?
I don't think I would imagine Purdy doesn't play on a short week with that elbow injury, which
Mm.
has given him issues before. So at 3, it's I think it's Cardinals are the side. Short week for the Niners. I mean, that was a great effort against the Lions. Do they do they show up here? Do they have a kicker? Um, I, this
Josh
tough
Dobbs
game.
revenge. Josh Dobbs revenge
Josh
game.
Dobbs revenge. I think the market is like if Purdy gets ruled out, this will go up more, I think. So I think at 3, it's Arizona or nothing. Arizona, I like their staff. They show that they'll still fight it the week after they were eliminated. I think that they'll care. Um, where are the Niners at mentally? Not sure. So Arizona or nothing there.
I might look at an under as well. And it seems like a high total if Purdy doesn't go. I mean, they played a 13-9 game against the Rams last week. All right. So that is going to do it for the best of the rest and our week 18 Action Network podcast. You can find more of me every week with my guy Kerner talking fantasy DFS player projections, all that good stuff on the Fantasy Flex Pod. You can hear Stuck talking college football bowl season over on Big Bets on Campus. Stuck is on X at Stuckey2. I'm at Chris Raybon. We were at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.
Let go.